claptrap. And, they refer back to the 2016 referendum. But what they fail to remember is that we've actually had 4 elections or polls on our leaving. We had the referendum for which we voted to leave. Then we had Mrs. May's re-election, which was done on a promise to deliver Brexit, even though she failed to deliver. Then we had the May Euro elections in 2019, in which the Brexit Party, of which I was a very proud member, won an absolutely thumping majority and showed the EU in no uncertain terms, including Mrs. May, and she had to resign as a result, that we wanted Brexit. And then, of course, we had the thumping Conservative Party victory in December 2019.
Based on Get Brexit Done. Yeah, Get Brexit Done. That got Boris an 80-seat majority. So, and to be honest with you, Ben, it's not a difficult concept to embrace, is it? Do you want to be in the EU or do you not want to be in the EU? Yeah. Why does the European Parliament feel that such a heady concept is way above our British heads?
Well, because they have imperial ambitions. They look down upon member states. Their view of member states is to subjugate them and to deprive them of empowerment so they themselves can hold that power. And looking down at the British people is their view of democracy. They call Nigel Farage a right-wing populist. He's nothing of the sort. But the reason they do it is that they want to undermine populism. And populism at its very heart is democracy. The British people spoke up through a democratic process 4 times and said, we want out of the EU. The EU just can't get that through its thick, arrogant little skull. Yeah. And it's their failure to recognize that, their failure to take that on board properly, actually, that eventually pushed us out of the EU. Because if they'd given David Cameron the kind of concessions they should have done, what David Cameron should have asked for and what they should have given him, probably we would have voted to remain, but they didn't. They were intransigent. They refused to take on board our legitimate complaints. So the Brits absolutely knew we wanted out, and we still want out. We want out now more than ever.
Ben, tell us about the disasters that were supposed to unfold as soon as we left the EU, to engulf this nation in sheer catastrophe of not being in the Brussels club anymore. None of these catastrophes or disasters have happened, have they?
No, none of them. And the reason I'm sitting here talking to you, Kevin, is because of all those false threats that were made by people like George Osborne, David Cameron, Mark Carney back in 2016, who said, just to remind people of a few of these threats, that there would be a deep and severe recession the minute we voted to leave. Actually, we were one of the fastest growing countries in the world after the vote to leave the EU. They said that 1 million people would lose their jobs. Employment in the UK reached record levels after we voted to leave the EU. They said 75,000 jobs would be lost from the city. Actually, the city went on to record ever increasing numbers. And the city is actually one of the parts of our economy that doesn't have a deal with the EU and is doing incredibly well at the moment as a result of that. We're able to deregulate. One of the genuine things the Prime Minister is doing is ditching Solvency II, which I won't bore you with the detail of, but it's a very positive step. None of the threats that George Osborne and others made back in 2016 have come home to roost. In fact, to the extent that the UK is being held back at the moment, it's because we haven't got a proper Brexit. If we genuinely left the EU, if we genuinely left its regulations behind, we'd be able to buy British first. We can't do that because of state aid provisions. We'd have complete control of our fishing waters. We can't because Boris Johnson has handed them over to a significant extent to French and other boats. We'd have complete control of our environmental laws. We can't because we've signed ourselves up in international treaty to net zero by 2050. So, I mean, to the extent the British people have a complaint about Brexit, it's because it hasn't been properly delivered yet. And I almost forgot, and I must mention, and perhaps the most important aspect of this government's failure to deliver Brexit properly is Northern Ireland, which we know is coming to a head at the moment, leaving it behind effectively in the European Union single market for goods. That is a travesty which people like me have to go on fighting to get right now.
Yeah, I'm hoping to talk to one of our listeners and viewers, Brendan in Hartlepool, who sent a message saying, and I think it sums up what a lot of people probably feel in this country right now. He said, "I knew exactly what I was voting for, and we haven't got it." There's a problem there, isn't there? We haven't really Get Brexit Done has not delivered the full Brexit that some of us had in mind.
No, I'm so delighted that you've read that text, Kevin, because, you know, the Prime Minister keeps getting up in Parliament and defend his Partygate scandals and saying, well, I got Brexit done. Well, actually, Mr. Johnson, you haven't. We haven't got Brexit done. You know, leaving part of Northern Ireland, part of the United Kingdom, leaving Northern Ireland behind in the EU is not getting Brexit done. You know, one of the solemn promises he made was that the country would leave the European Union as one United Kingdom. We haven't done that. We've left Northern Ireland behind. So he hasn't got it done. I would ditch the withdrawal agreement. I would ditch the Northern Ireland Protocol, which is part of that agreement. And I would also ditch the trade and cooperation agreement. And armed with the freedom that that would give us, I would then deregulate this country. I would cut taxes, and I would become the Singapore-on-Thames that Remainers in the EU fear so much. They fear it because they know that empowers the UK. It makes it a genuine, independent, nimble trading entity across the globe. We would be a phenomenal force to deal with if we just had the courage to cut those apron strings with the EU and have a genuine, if you like, a full fat Brexit.
Yeah. When people, they level these charges, London or Britain could become like a Singapore here in the Northern Hemisphere. How terrible would that be? And I always think, well, it sounds good to me. The nimble machine that you were talking about, that Britain still has the potential to become, was kind of highlighted during the vaccine rollout, where we showed the EU a massive clean pair of heels and how to do it, didn't we?
Absolutely. And we still are showing them a clean pair of heels. If we'd been part of the European Medicine Agency, we would have been stuck in a quagmire of indecision and bureaucracy. You know, that is the problem with the EU. It's a bureaucracy. It's stymied by its own desire for control. And we've seen it again with Ukraine. You know, they're unable to get together a coherent response on Ukraine. They were unable to deliver a coherent response on the vaccine. And when they saw us showing them a clean pair of heels, they were so jealous.
I know.
They attacked AstraZeneca. They said the vaccine doesn't work. And then, having said it doesn't work, they actually tried to put a border down the middle of Ireland, which they said they would never do because it threatens the peace process, because they won't prevent us getting vaccines in the United Kingdom. I mean, you couldn't make this stuff up. They have an antipathy to the United Kingdom, which is so obvious.
They do.
It's awful.
They do, and they're still accusing us of being stupid for voting to leave. I suspect the reverse is true. Great to talk to you, Ben. As always, thank you so much for your time, Ben.